Proudly brought to you by Team Racing.
Tonight on Fox Sports News, the Dragons dish out another football lesson to the Rabbitohs in the Charity Shield.
Gives it back to Ben Hornby. Nobody in front of him. A pass over the top to Blacklock. And the try-scoring machine gets his first of 2004.
Another victory for English sports fans with Penrith humbled in the World Club Challenge.
Price on the break. Still Price. Wonderful try from Leon Price.
Shane Warne's next step in his cricket comeback.
That'll do.
The points pile up in round 3 of the ANZ Championship.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. Yes.
And Singh's song is sung as VJ's top 10 record bid ends.
BJ Singh just looks, Mike Albert, like he's run out of gas, finally.
Good evening, I'm Caroline Searcy with the late edition of Fox Sports News. St George Illawarra has dominated from the outset to beat South Sydney in their Charity Shield pre-season clash at Aussie Stadium. The long-awaited return of Trent Barrett giving the Dragons an added bonus. Barrett missed most of last season with a broken ankle, but tonight wasted no time finding his feet as he scored a superb solo try to spark the Dragons' 26-point win.
Some early charity between the two foundation clubs. No Hill or McDougall for the Rabbitohs. A more than welcome sight for the Dragons with skipper Trent Barrett back after 9 months on the sidelines. A big crowd on hand and South serving up one of their biggest fans for the celebrity kickoff.
He's playing it for all it's worth. Doing little Johnny Wilkinson there.
The early running from the Dragons, Barrett calling the shots for Blacklock.
Look, coming quickly, had a chance.
The red and whites pounding the Rabbitohs line. Mark Riddell the first to cross it. The video ref not as convinced. St George Illawarra unfazed. Sean Timmins less than 30 seconds later drifting and finding a willing Matt Cooper.
Go wide though to Cooper. This time they will score.
The pace on for both sides in the first half. The Dragons more than willing in defence.
And was sat on his backside.
In search of just their 4th win in the Charity Shield event, the Bunnies had their chances to level the scores. The Dragons were taking theirs, the skipper with the ball on a string, finding the sticks and the rebound.
Barrett picks it up and scores off his own kick.
The Saints 10-0 and the skipper involved again on the stroke of half-time. Ben Hornby with the perfect ball for Barrett.
Gets it away on the outside and they will score through Perenara.
The Dragons 16-0 at the break. The Rabbitohs out to avoid a cricket score and just the spark they needed provided by former Dragon in Willie Peters.
Rigon plants it down.
The Bunnies on the board through Shane Rigon. A perfect start to the second half. But from hero to villain, Rigon missing Timmins just 4 minutes later. Hornby backing up and never one to pass up a try. Blacklock on the spot for the Dragons' 4th.
Nobody in front of him. A pass over the top to Blacklock.
It was Timmins again just minutes later. The lead up from Kite and a streamlined Riddell. The Dragons up 28-4.
Comes to Riddell. Good hands. Timmins is in this time.
The Rabbitohs without a prayer. The jury denied a try and with a toenail on the dead ball line. The Rabbitohs well beaten but more than willing. Lee Hookey getting one back against his former club. The Dragons far too strong on the night, retaining their Charity Shield 34-8. The Rabbitohs again with plenty to do.
Some nifty footwork and the youngster has a 4-pointer.
Rugby League's World Club champion Bradford has given some Australian clubs an insight into the best way to deal with NRL Premier Penrith, and that's to simply launch a barrage of bombs at Panthers fullback Reece Wesser. The English Super League champion concentrated much of its attack at Wesser and proved successful, taking out the World Club title for a second time.
Despite missing grand final heroes Ryan Girdler and Scott Sattler, Penrith were still rated by many as favourites to upstage Bradford, who were also without skipper Robbie Paul and halfback Paul Deacon. But it was the Bulls that came out charging, and ironically it was former Penrith boy Michael Withers that led the attack, his decision to kick instead of pass costing Bradford an early try.
Kick out wide looking for Minacolo. Oh, Minacolo! He went the wrong way.
The Panthers were quick to hit back, Paul Fatuira finding the line.
And this is Fatuira, and he slides his way over the line. Did momentum taken? Was it a double movement? It's the first decision for video referee Jeff Berry. John Lang mystified by that, by the looks.
Bradford then went to the air through the boot of Carl Pratt, and Leslie Vainicolo put the pressure on Panthers fullback Reece Wesser.
Another kick, looking to test Reece Wesser.
Once again, the video was called for, but this time the ref ruled in favour of the home side. 5 minutes later, the Bulls were in again. Leon Price leaving a host of Penrith defenders in his wake.
This is Price. Price on the break. Still Price. Wonderful try from Leon Price.
It was hardly the style of football that Johnny Lang was expecting from his men, and the attack seemed to be no better than the defence. But while the visitors frittered away their opportunities, Bradford made the most of theirs, Pratt again putting up a bomb, and this time Luke Rooney failed to defuse it.
He's lost it. The ball inside to Logan Swan. And on his debut, Logan Swan scores the first Bulls try.
Ahead 16-0 at half-time, the Bradford faithful were on their feet, but Luke Prittis brought them back to earth after Preston Campbell went to the air.
It's a tester, and that ball has come free, and Prittis. And now has he scored it? He's got the ball down. The referee, Steve Jansen, hands it on again to Jeff Berry. Penrith are on the board.
The Panthers still trailed, though, while the Bulls continued to pepper Wesser.
Oh, it's a high-hanging kick from Price. It's a great chase. Oh, Weston has dropped it. Fielding's after it, and to the rescue comes Scott Howland, Brett Howland.
It was a night to forget for Penrith, but it wasn't over yet. Rob Parker sealing Bradford's victory in the dying minutes.
There's a chance here for them. It's Parker!
For the Bulls, it was a sweet victory. Not only had they claimed the world title for the second time, they had also silenced their army of knockers.
The performance of Essendon full forward Matthew Lloyd has been the highlight of his side's pre-season win over the Swans at North Sydney Oval. The Bombers won the trial by 11 points after an impressive opening half that saw full forward Lloyd boot 4 goals. As acting skipper, given the absence of James Hird, Lloyd showed the 7 kilos he stacked on in the off-season wasn't enough to let Jason Saddington get the better of him. Although both sides made the finals last year, the 15-a-side trial was basically a chance to give some of the rookies a run before the pre-season comp kicks off next weekend. Englishman Steve Webster is on target to end his run of second-place finishes, holding a 5-point lead going into the final round of the ANZ Championship at Port Stephens. Webster has finished second 4 times on tour, but after holding on to his overnight lead, he gives himself a good chance of finally having a win. But he'll have to hold off challenges from some of the most promising youngsters in the game, including the last 2 US amateur champions, Ricky Barnes and Australia's Nick Flanagan.
Yeah, Nick Flanagan, he's going.
There were a host of players poised to strike on day 3, and one of those making an early move was young amateur Nick Flanagan.
Oh, magnificent shot from Flanagan.
That set up an eagle putt to go to 25 points, just 2 off the pace.
Hello. Good. Yes.
Overnight leader Steve Webster remained on top though, moving to 31 points after 2 early birdies.
Look at this. This is going to go very close to going in.
Nick O'Hearn kept the pressure on Webster, using his immaculate short game at 4 to be just 2 behind.
Playing a beauty.
Defending champ Paul Casey held back-to-back birdies to get it to 27 points, but the Englishman's run halted with 2 bogeys just before the turn.
Oh, boy, that's water. That's miles left.
O'Hearn then had an outside chance for his 3rd straight birdie to join Webster in the lead.
Is this 5? Yes, it is. What a putt from long range for Nick O'Hearn.
Sweden's Peter Hedblom, though, didn't even need a putter.
55. Oh, it's gone. Where did it go?
It would take more than that to catch Webster, closing his front 9 with 2 more birdies to stretch his advantage to 4.
Makes it.
Meanwhile, a bogey-free 64 from David McKenzie saw him finish the day on 29 points. American Ricky Barnes was also 8 under for his round to get to 30 points, right in the hunt for his maiden professional win.
Oh, a number of years now. What a golf shot from Ricky Barnes.
And fellow young gun Flanagan was just as impressive with iron in hand.
Oh my goodness, almost went in.
Another attacking the pins, England's Gary Evans capped off his round of 65 with a birdie to finish the day on 28 points.
Nice.
Tony Carolyn also thrilled the final hole gallery as he searched for a rare eagle.
Front trap.
Oh, look at this. Look at this.
Yes.
Birdies were all Webster needed, however, as he went even further ahead.
Got it. Oh, that's a handy lead now, isn't it? 6 on moving day.
On 29 points coming up the last, Flanagan could sense he needed birdie to keep in touch with the Englishman.
Around the hole. Beautiful looking shot. Good way to end.
Last year's US Amateur champ made no mistake with the putt to finish on 31 points and on his own in 4th place.
Birdie at the last.
I played a lot better today than I did yesterday. I still left a few out there, a couple of silly mistakes, but I've done that every day so far, so hopefully I can get rid of them for tomorrow.
Webster was looking to cement his place on top of the leaderboard, going for the par 5 16th in 2.
That for eagle and 5 points. One of the shots of the day.
He missed the eagle putt, but moved to 39 points with the birdie, leaving O'Hearn desperate to close the gap at the last.
Yes, pretty good.
O'Hearn's birdie ensured he'd finish on his own in 2nd, and Casey also birdied the last to finish a mixed round on 29 points.
7 points. Oh, what a finish for Paul Casey.
Shane Warne is edging closer to reclaiming a spot in the Australian Test team after claiming a wicket with his 2nd ball in Victoria's ING Cup match against Tasmania. Unfortunately, his effort didn't help the Bushrangers as the Victorians struggled with the bat. Shane Watson steered the Tigers to a 3-wicket win, but again it was Warne who was in the spotlight.
Oh, great
Victoria needed to win to stay in the race for the final and started on fire, with Elliott and Moss smashing 24 off 3 overs. Tasmania, chasing its first win in the competition, soon put a stop to that. Shane Watson finding some away movement, claiming Elliott, then Brad Hodge.
Could be out, going in a 3rd man. He's got him, big wickets.
Shane Warne's return to the Bushrangers senior side was to be a focal point of the match. So too the debut of former Test bowler Paul Rifle as an umpire. His expertise needed in the decision of Moss, who fell for 9, and the Vicks were struggling at 3 for 31.
Paul Rifle gives him an
It should have been 4 for soon after, but umpire Parry at the other end found a reason to give this not out.
Probably off and leg it was going to miss, but the one in the middle I'm not so sure about.
But that didn't stop the collapse. Rummins, White and danger man David Hussey gone.
He's got him, 6 for 83. It's all happening at the MCG.
The hosts in desperate need of a partnership, and it came. Wicket-keeper Darren Berry and Andrew McDonald putting on close to 100 for the 7th wicket. Berry top-scored with 64, while Vaughan could only manage 7. But 218 was a decent total after the poor start.
And Shane Warne is gone.
Tassie's run chase started positively. Michael Di Venuto the driving force in the top order. While the scoring rate was solid, the visitors' grip started to fall, with the loss of a couple of wickets. Then at 3 for 90 after 21 overs, Warne was brought into the attack with almost immediate impact.
That'll do.
The wicket of Daniel Marsh just 2 balls into his spell, although Warney wasn't sure he'd claimed it. Despite the promising start, it was another Shane, Watson that is, who starred.
And this is magnificent batting. That's a big one.
The Australian one-day all-rounder hit 63 to go with 2 wickets to lead the Tigers to a 3-wicket victory.
This is Fox Sports News. After the break, the heatwave takes its toll on some of Australia's top horses, and the Sydney Flames and Adelaide Lightning go head-to-head for a spot in the WNBL Grand Final.
Randall gets her first points of the game.
Performance, precision handling and aerodynamic body, the Camry Sportiva is built for great roads.
I wasn't sure what to expect when I joined the Air Force. It's a bit scary at first. You make mistakes just like anyone else, but all the training we do prepares us well for that. I found it quite challenging, but not unachievable. You get to do some amazing things, like when you're flying around at low level through canyons. kid, I used to count the number of times I've flown in a jumbo. And with no more flying experience than that, now I'm a fighter pilot.
Worn G's by King G. Wear 'em out.
Basketball's pretty boys are bracing for a big ugly welcome. The Sydney Kings, West Sydney Razorbacks. This is it. East versus West. The battle that divides a city. It's one apiece in the best of 3 series. Will the All-Australian Razorbacks dethrone the high-flying Kings? Get set for the biggest head-to-head of the NBL season. Book early. This game will sell out. Saturday, February 21, 7:30 p.m. State Sports Centre. Tickets at Ticketek.
The pilot training was really satisfying for me, particularly not having done anything like that before. As the weeks progressed though, we could see the improvements in ourselves and particularly in my own personal development, and by the end I was really proud of my efforts.
This is Fox Sports News. The Melbourne Tigers continue to prove they'll be a threat in the NBL playoffs, beating the 4th place West Sydney Razorbacks at home tonight. League leaders, the Sydney Kings, were too good for the New Zealand Breakers. Adelaide and Perth went into overtime. Victoria held on in a close one against the Hunter Pirates. In Townsville, they're into the 3rd quarter, while the Tigers win over the Razorbacks gives them their best record in 7 seasons. John Casey has a wrap of the match.
Caroline, with both the Melbourne Tigers and West Sydney Razorbacks occupying a spot inside the top 5, this had good game written all over it. But the Melbourne Tigers blew West Sydney away in the first half. They led by as many as 29 before the Pigs mounted a comeback and closed to within 15 at the finish of the match. But Melbourne 109 defeated West Sydney 94. And Steve Carfino, the Tigers' first half was just about as good as we've seen this year.
No kidding, they really jumped on West Sydney. I think with West Sydney playing last night, they really wanted the opportunity to get out of the gates early, and they did just that. Defensively, they were tough. Offensively, they were knocking down shots. And when you create that many turnovers on the defensive end of the floor, nothing but good can happen.
The Razorbacks were much better in the second half. They took better care of the ball, but they're still obviously missing Scotty McGregor, who won't play again this year, and they'll need to find Brad Williams a spot pretty soon.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to try and find their feet defensively. I think that's what they'll miss him most. Able to hit that 3-point shot, able to run the lanes, able to get the rebounds, and defensively, he's kind of the tough guy that wouldn't back down to anyone, and I think they missed that tonight.
Andrew Gay's top scored in the match with 28 points. He had 19 at halftime. It was a vintage display from Andrew.
It sure was, and I was really impressed by the patience that he showed in getting all those points. He hit the basketball shots in transition. He was also able to get it in their half-court offense. He was just very patient. His teammates got him the basketball when he was open, and he took advantage of every opportunity.
And a very good game from Sam McKinnon, who finished with 27 for West Sydney. But Melbourne got the job done. They kept alive their final 4 hopes. They have won here, defeating West Sydney by 15 points. Let's send it back to the Fox Sports Centre.
Thanks for that, Case. Still on basketball, and the Sydney Flames have survived a last quarter fight back from Adelaide to book a place in their 4th straight WNBL Grand Final. The Flames were cruising with a 13-point lead, but the Lightning narrowed that to just 4 points at full time. Sydney will now play Dandenong next weekend to decide the championship.
After missing out on direct entry into the grand final last week, the Flames were determined not to blow their final opportunity as they hosted Adelaide. But it was a tight first quarter, Sydney and the Lightning trading baskets.
Spawn works her way in hard.
But then Belinda Snell began to find her range. Adelaide coach Jan Sterling could sense the danger, but Snell and the Flames kept coming, opening up a 5-point lead at the first break. In the second term, the Lightning tried to reel in Sydney, but Snell had an appropriate reply.